Hi, I'm Owen Fitzpatrick, author of the book The Charismatic Edge, author of the book Not Enough Hours, co-author of the book The Ultimate Introduction to NLP with Dr. Richard Bandler and Alessio Berti, co-author of the book Take Charge of Your Life, or How to Take Charge of Your Life with Dr. Richard Bandler and Alessio Berti, co-author of Conversations with Dr. Richard Bandler, and co-author of Memories with Dr. Richard Bandler, creator of the Online Charisma Training Academy, and creator of the Online Time Mastery course. That's it for me. Thanks very much for watching. I'm only joking. Long introduction, huh? This particular video, I want to talk to you about how being wrong makes you right. Now, that's not just a catchy, counterintuitive title that I've used deliberately as clickbait to get you to watch this video, although it kind of technically is. But this has an actual point, because what I want to talk to you about today is the fact that many of us have this need or desire to be right. In fact, we have this craving to be right because, again, when we evolved and when we were apes or chimpanzees or Neanderthals or whatever we were, humanoids, you know, the thing, whenever we were one of those, we had this issue that we were going to get eaten, because we were hunting for food and we were running about trying to kill bears or stab tigers in the eyes or whatever we were doing so that we could eat their faces. And of course, we had to be wary when we were doing that, because we know that if we do pick a fight with the wrong lion, then we're going to get killed. So we had to make the right decision. We had to be able to look at a tiger and go, can I take him or not? And if we could, we'd take him. And if we couldn't, we'd run like the wind, really fast wind. Here's the problem. If we got it wrong, if we took on a tiger that was like a really good tiger, especially sharp teeth, a bit of a dodgy fella, and we lost, we'd be dead. If we got it right, we'd be okay. So we needed to be right. As hunters, we evolved this need to be right. In order to help us to do this, our brain started to evolve in such a way that it created positive chemicals for us. So for example, whenever we get something right, we tend to release a chemical called dopamine. Now, dopamine is a feel-good chemical. It's the same chemical you get when you're motivated, when you feel good about something. It's a really, really feel-good feeling. And dopamine's released whenever we get something right. So in many ways, we have this craving, this need to be right. There's another principle in psychology called the confirmation bias, which is that whenever we have a belief about something, whenever we believe something is true, we start to look for evidence that proves that belief is being true. So we start to search for any evidence that confirms our belief, and any evidence that dismisses or contradicts our belief, we dismiss. So we don't allow that to be a factor. Now, what this is important from an understanding point of view is that because we need to be right, as soon as we get an idea, we crave to be right. Therefore, that's why we dismiss the evidence that contradicts us. And that's dangerous. Because if we don't allow ourselves to be wrong, then we don't learn from the experience. And we often will make mistakes as a result of believing something that isn't necessarily useful. So that's why when we talk about beliefs, we're really talking about your ability to be able to develop more useful ways of thinking about the world. If you're convinced about something, too convinced, then everything you see will be filtered through that. And the biggest mistake I've found that people make is that they're too convinced and too certain of their own limitations. They're too certain over thinking they know whatever it is that they don't know. So, for example, if they say, nobody likes me, they think that that's true because they watch, and whenever anyone treats them badly, they use it as evidence to say, see, I told you nobody likes me. If, for example, they get rejected once, to go, I'll always be alone. And they predict the future. They're certain about the future. But again, they're using that one negative experience to, as evidence to prove their conclusion. Now, this all happens because they're convinced of it, because they believe something and they search for evidence to prove it's true. The reality is the greatest thing you can possibly do is be okay with being wrong. Because the more okay you are with being wrong, the more right you are. Because by being wrong, you learn from the experience, you're able to open up your perspective and see things differently. What I try to do, and in the work that I try to do, I try to help people see things from different perspectives. Because if you can see the same situation from multiple perspectives, you can start to see how you can change the way you think. You can start to get a new insight from something. You can start to change the very way that you feel about anything and everything. And that's why it's so fundamentally essential that you're able to become wrong on purpose, to be able to be okay with being wrong, rather, on purpose. Whenever we're right, that's a great feeling. But when you're right about how miserable life is going to be, it's because you've manifested or started to create that for yourself. Instead, Begin to ask yourself the question, what else could be true here? A lot of times we're led down the garden path where we're convinced almost that this is going to be the way it is and we're going to have to face this. What's vital and really important for you to do is to start to go after it, and always, when you're looking at a situation, always try to step into someone else's shoes. Always start to think to yourself, what other ways are there to look at this situation? The more perspectives you have, the more different perceptions you have of a particular situation, the more free you are to be able to choose the most useful way of thinking, which in turn will start to create the most wonderful part of your life, and which to me is a much more right way to approach life than getting caught up in your own negative bullshit. Does that make sense? I hope it does. Anyway, remember, next time you think you're right about how messed up things will be, or next time you think you're right about something that makes you feel bad, ask yourself, is there any other way of thinking about it? And maybe you're wrong. Have you ever been wrong is a great question that my mentor, Dr. Richard Bandler, asks. So again, maybe ask yourself that question a little bit. Have you ever been wrong? Because if you're wrong about your limitations, if you're wrong about what you can't do, if you're wrong about how messed up the future's going to be, maybe, just maybe, things could look a hell of a lot brighter. I hope you're prepared to be wrong and prepared to be right by being wrong, and are right about being wrong for the last time, in that you'll be right about doing whatever it is that I've said isn't wrong about this exercise. Go out into the world. Make the world a better place by impacting the world. And let the world impact you and make you a better person. And, as always, be a legend in your own lunchbox. I'm Owen Fitzpatrick. I don't know what the wink was all about. It was just an instinct I had. But thanks for watching.